everyone, it's Justine, the Twilight Stamper, and today I wanted to do a review on the brand new Hero Arts Ombre inks, and I wanted to make a project with you featuring the Ombre inks. Now, I opened up the purple one. I ordered the purple and the black because I figured I don't have a lot of purple inks, so I decided I would probably use that every once in a while, and I wanted to try out the black since it's a pretty common color that I use in sentiments. So I ordered both of them, and I just tried out the purple one just recently, and I wanted to do a little bit of review on them. Now, to start off, I wanted to show you what they look like when they stamp and open them and show you exactly what they're made up of. So as you can see here, it goes from the darkest, medium, and a light color. As you can see, there's 3 ink foams in each one, and they have kind of a line there separating them. Now, I'm curious about stamping them if you end up seeing that line. I don't think you will, but that's interesting that you can see. I was kind of wondering how did they make these? And same with the black one, you can see that just slightly off camera there, if I tilt it the right way, that you can see how those stamp. So I wanted to do 2 different things, and one of the things I noticed and kind of thought about as I was stamping just recently with the purple one is that your stamp has to be kind of a perfect size when using these. So that's one of the downsides, or one of the positive sides. I'm not really sure. There's no way to really fix that. I mean, that's just how it works. But for example, if your ink is not, or your stamp is not big enough to go over all 3, then you're not getting the true ombre look. If your stamp is too big, then trying to stamp elsewhere would make it look kind of funny. So I'm just going to stamp here and show you how this looks when I stamp it. And this is just the thank you sentiment. Okay, I'm going to try inking that up again because it didn't give a really even impression, but this is a new stamp set. I'm not 100% sure if I've used this stamp before, so that could have been my fault. I'm just going to dry that there using my shirt because I'm awesome like that. So this time I pushed quite hard on there, and I'm sure it's going to stamp. Again, that could have been just the stamp's fault. Okay, so you can see that that really gives a really beautiful look. I really like the way that that goes from sort of a purple to a light or a dark pink color, I would say. I'm going to go ahead and clean my stamp and my ink pad and go ahead and stamp in black. I'm just going to stamp on the back here to make sure that that's truly clean. I'm going to go in and stamp that. See what the black looks like. Okay, and just as pretty, you have sort of a darker to a lighter look. I don't find a super huge difference, but as you can see, the dark is up here. So again, this stamp here, it's again slightly too small to really see the ombre technique look. So let's make a project with them and see how this turns out. Alright, so for this card I just wanted to create a really quick, easy, and simple card to show off these inks. I'm not going to bother doing any sort of extensive techniques. I'm starting off with an 11 by 4 1/4 inch piece of 110 pound Unisolar white cardstock, scoring that to get a nice crisp fold. Alright, so I'm going to set my card base off to the side here and grab a scrap piece of paper where I actually stamped the thank yous on there before, on the back. And I'm going to grab my Ombre ink pad. This is the purple ink pad. Now this is a little bit of a tight fit. I know that my stamp, I think, is exactly the same size as the ink pad. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to dunk my stamp into the ink pad this way, so I know for sure that I'm getting an even impression. And as I said, this was kind of my concern before. What happens when the stamp is bigger than the ink pad? So this is a stamp that was slightly bigger where I did have to move it upwards to make sure that the whole stamp was covered in that ink. So I'm curious to see how it stamps, and I'm sure you are too. Okay, and that's the impression that came out. Really gorgeous. I'm loving the way that that looked, and I'm loving the fact that I didn't have to do any sort of rock and roll technique to achieve that. So after I finished cutting out my butterfly, it looked like that, and we're going to do a little bit more stamping on the card, and then we're going to call it a day. Okay, so I'm going to add a sentiment to the card and see how that turns out. This time I'm using the Love Life stamp from So Susie Stamps. I'm just going to stamp that in the corner there. There you can see the ombre technique. I do love that with the sentiments. I think with the sentiments it looks even a little bit better than on the stamped image, but again, just a personal preference. All right, so I'm going to grab my butterfly here. You can see I stamped it before on the back here, and not a big deal though. And I'm going to attach that to my card. I'm just going to add a couple of little sparkles here to just add a bit of embellishment to the card. So overall, would I recommend the Hero Arts Ombre inks? And I have to say that I would recommend them. I think they do their job. They stamp clearly. They give the ombre look. The ombre look is super trendy right now. I do personally like them better for the sentiments than I do for the images. I think they look better in a crisp, clear look than with a lot of detail such as on this stamp set here, or the stamp here. Personally, it's the pros and cons. As I said, pros are that you get this look without having to do any really big thinking or needing to have 3 different ink pads. Con for me is that the stamp has to be a certain size in order to reach all 3 inks, or if it's too big you have to do a little bit of playing around and that might end up mucking up the colors a little bit. But overall I do recommend it. I think it's a great product, a really great and interesting idea to really hone in on that ombre look. And it's not impossible to achieve this look, I would say, with your own personal ink pads in 3 different tones. So for me, it's more of an extra purchase. If you've got some extra money in the budget or you're looking for something new to try out, then I definitely recommend it. So I hope you enjoyed this review. If you have any questions below, just post them. And I have direct links in my blog post and on my description if you're interested in picking up some of these. I have direct links to the stores. I am not affiliated in any way with Hero Arts, and nobody asked me to make this review. I just wanted to make that clear that it was my own personal choice and it's my own personal opinion. Nobody influenced me at all to make this or influenced my opinion. So thanks so much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this little brief card tutorial and my review. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and comment. Thanks.